Trails of Cold Steel is the most recent in Falcom's Legend of Heroes RPG series to be localized to North America. However, this series dates as far back as 1989, where it's seen its first installment on home computers, as well later on the Mega Drive, the Super Famicom, and the PC Engine. The PC Engine was the only of the 3 platforms to receive an English translation of the game, making its launch to the English-speaking audiences something only the most niche of gamers could have observed. This series, however, persisted and over a course of nearly 30 years would build a cult following in North America. As a virgin to this series, Trails of Cold Steel is my first venture into the franchise, and I will be reviewing this primarily for people in similar situations. So doesn't that make you, completely unqualified to even talk about this? That's what I thought.
Gauntlet.
So history aside, what can we say about this? Well, with the way every aspect of this game is so well integrated into the others, it's seemingly impossible to talk about this game in a simple and concise manner. Let's just start by getting the basics out of the way. I played on the PlayStation Vita, but the game is also available for the PS3, and offers cross-save support between the two of them. The sound is great, the voice acting is great but sometimes sparse, and the music is pretty darn good too.
How are we supposed to match this kind of power?
Stand tall! We're stronger than our fear!
No matter how mighty it is, there must be a way to beat it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a trial.
Target confirmed. Commencing assault.
I did hit translation errors, but they were very rare and only worth noting if you're super anal about them.
This is it. The final trial. We stand before a great darkness. But remember, darkness can't exist where light is. Let's be that light!
Right!
The graphics were also great and really nailed the anime style. However, at times, especially in cutscenes, you will see some frame drops and some slowdown. Everything aside from this is a little bit harder to talk about. This RPG has seen many comparisons to games like Persona, and it's not an unwarranted comparison to say the least. This is a far cry from the usual RPGs we get here in North America. It takes a more relaxed tone to storytelling, and a far more conservative and leisurely pace. As a result, some people can find this game a bit of a slow burn or simply hard to get invested in. However, I have to say that personally, this pace is one of its strongest elements. You play primarily as Reen Schwarzer, the adopted son of a baron, and are entered into Thor's military academy in the land of Erebonia. Erebonia is a rich land, for better or worse, run with a clear and divided distinction between common folk and nobles. The nobles being the controlling political leaders of the world. However, every subset of land within Erebonia is controlled by a different set of nobles, each with dissenting views on what is right and wrong with the world, with one area even going so far as to go all Quebec and try to separate from the rest of Erebonia. It's within these politics you will get most of your big, grand story. The world is crafted with absolute mastery, and learning how it works is integral to enjoying the game. If politics isn't something you understand, the game will teach you. What separates Trails most from other RPGs I've played is that there is no grand, overarching story about saving the world per se. At its very roots, the game is about learning to get along with your classmates, despite them all from being different walks of life. Your classmates will butt heads from time to time, some of which being nobles refusing to converse with commoners, some of which being former mercenaries, nobles, and union workers all not willing to work together, some of which are people harboring guilt because they know their noble family may have very well destroyed or complicated the lives of their classmates. However, if the students are to survive and see graduation, they must learn to work together. As the adopted son of a baron, you serve something of a middle ground to help patch these rifts, and it's very important that you do. In learning about your classmates, you learn where on a political scale they fall, what sway them and their family have in regards to the way the world works, and how all of you tend to agree that the current governing system of Erebonia is not without its flaws. Knowing your classmates and the history of their families is important, as throughout the game's progression, the rift between the commoners and nobles and the rise of a powerful terrorist organization will push the world deeper and deeper into political turmoil, and your classmates' families are as much responsible for it happening as they are for repairing the damage that will soon occur. Not only does learning about your classmates help understand the story, but it also serves to strengthen the game's battle system through something called combat links that we will talk about shortly. By the end of the game, you have the choice of 10 different party members, with additional guest members here and there. Every party member fights very different from each other, and these differences are the reflections of their upbringing and where they hail from in Erebonia. The battle system is surprisingly deep, but used relatively sparingly in this game compared to other RPGs, as the story is more one about character development and politics than it is about destroying any one enemy or group of enemies. Battle takes place in a turn-based format in a 3D environment where enemy locations, how far you can move, and the range of your weapons are all vital to getting the most out of your attacks. In place of mana, we have EP and CP. One allows you to use skills learned by leveling up. The other allows you to use skills attached to your character through something called orbments. Orbs and orbal technology is the new growing form of tech in Erebonia. Think of it as what electricity and wireless communications are to us, with the added benefit of magic casting abilities, as orbs in this game do things as mundane as power street lamps and cell phones, to things completely detached from reality like raining comets out of the sky. The skills you can cast during battle are large spectacles of excitement that I have been sorely missing from RPGs in the last decade. To say the very least, they remind me of the Dragoon attacks from The Legend of Dragoon on PS1, and that's a damn big compliment from me. Do you even know what this game is? Bro, seriously? In addition to EP and CP, you have your standard single attacks, your ability to use items, and your ability to move and simply end your turn. With standard attacks, you sometimes get something called a combat link. Combat links are the biggest reason to build character relations in this game, as the stronger your relationship is to your party members, the more likely you are to have combat link attacks occur. Combat link attacks are similar to critical hits, but work like this. If you attack an enemy and your partner has a strong enough relation to you, they will have an increased chance of randomly striking the enemy while it's recovering from your initial strike. This does not use their turn either, it's simply a bonus. When link attacks are successful, you gain something called a bravery point. 3 bravery points allow you to use a stronger and more specialized attack during combat links. When you have 5 bravery points, if your relationship is good enough with all present fighters, you can trade these 5 points so that all of you attack together in a large spectacle. In addition to these, each character also has one large attack. I'm just gonna call Mega Attack for now, though it's obviously not what it's called. This attack is very draining, but really useful in a pinch. This is all in addition to the standard set of affairs found in RPG battles like status ailments, weaknesses, strengths, etc. That basically covers the battle system, though rest assured I did leave out some of its many nuances. Revisiting combat links for 1 second, you may have noticed I said these are dependent on character relations. Character relations are built with every battle, but relationship building in bulk is actually done outside of battle. Perhaps it's time we get into the game's formula. This game has a very repetitive formula, but take my word when I say it never gets boring. Each chapter starts at Thor's military academy. While you are here, you have free time to bond with your classmates, though you can only do so much of this in one day. In addition to this, you will be spending much of your time doing side quests on behalf of the student council. These missions are easy and fun, but serve little more than to build lore and kill time, though I highly recommend doing every mission you find in this game. They are all unique, charming, and relative to the overall world building this game has achieved. As a special request, you are also instructed to explore an abandoned and seemingly magical schoolhouse located on Thor's property. This is a simple task that you do once every chapter. Enter the school, clear the floors, beat the boss, and leave to do it all again in the next chapter. This school does serve as a setting for much of the game's character development, but it doesn't directly link into the underlying story of the game until close to the very end. But it does link back in a very, very big way. On the next day of this chapter section, you take a written exam and a practical exam. These all count towards your school rank. The practical exams are battles against dummies under your teacher's bidding. The written exams are small multiple choice tests in which hopefully you've paid enough attention in class or visited the library prior to taking. At the end of this section, your class is divided into 2 groups and you leave on field studies. These field studies take you, by train, on a trail of cold steel, if you will, all over Erebonia. Each area is unique in design, just as the characters associated to them. The game has no shortage of great characters and great set pieces. Through these field studies, you come to understand the themes of political discourse. You will come up against large monsters, terrorist organizations, different armies at war all vying for power and control in Erebonia, and an unexpected and frankly welcoming amount of social statement helping you to sink uncontrollably deeper and deeper into your investment to the students of Thor's military academy. Each field study serves as a character arc as well for 1 or 2 of your classmates, and the further into them you get, the more political discourse you'll see taking place in Erebonia as things unfold in the background. Subversely, it becomes more and more important for you and your motley crew of friends to stick together. Despite there never being a large, let's go save the world scenario in play, you always end up in the middle of a situation that seems like the fate of Erebonia could be at stake if you don't intervene. That said, you always solve the problem, return to school at the end of the field study, then repeat the whole formula after that until the end of the game. So in short, the formula is make friends, explore a school, take a test, go on an adventure, return home, rinse and repeat, and maybe some fishing along the way. This may sound negative, as it may sound like there's never a driving force in this game, but when you understand the effect all this background political chatter has on each individual character, the story takes on a whole different feeling of importance. The leisurely pace of this game allows you to grow attachments to your characters. With this attachment, anytime something big does happen in the game, you really feel its weight. This is something I've felt is missing in most RPGs this past decade, with few notable exceptions. The best way I can describe how this story works is to compare it to a well-constructed, home-cooked meal. Maybe you have a garden out back. You harvest all your veggies, peel them, boil them, whatever you want to do. Fry some meat, grate some cheese. You cook and prepare each piece of this meal, one step at a time. You construct the most beautiful and delicious-looking meal you can conceive. You know the past and history of every ingredient, and you've cared for it every step along the way. With all the work that you put into it, you've acquired the respect necessary to enjoy this meal to the fullest extent. But what happens next is possibly the most shocking part of this system. You don't get to eat the meal. After 67 hours of preparing, the game just ends. It ends on a massive, potentially heart-crushing cliffhanger, wrought with shock and awe at the deception and twists unraveling at the height of political discourse in Erebonia. Nothing can prepare you for the end of this game. Now, I enjoyed my time preparing this meal. I can't state that enough, but holy crap, I am so ready to eat it. This, I think, is a mark of perfection. There is no way to play this game and not be excessively interested in picking up the sequel. The story is simply too big to be put in one game, and having the first game be a preparation of sorts, leading up to the real meat of the action, will only serve to strengthen the series. I loved the game's themes, its leisurely pace, but what they built up to means that the second game will have me fighting to save the world with more care than I have ever had in an RPG before. If you're looking for one RPG to play, I don't recommend this at all, as it's really an investment of 2 games, but that investment will pay off far more than I ever saw coming. Seriously, have you ever even played an RPG before? No, I'm starting to get real sick of your shit. Pathetic. This is hands down the best RPG I've played released in the last decade. Highly recommend, and without even playing it yet, I highly recommend the sequel. I need that conflict resolution. Thank you, Xseed, for bringing this masterpiece to my country, and may you always be able to deliver such gems to us. That's all from me today. If you like this video, you know what button to hit, drop me a comment and let me know what you thought, and sub to see more in the future. Thanks for watching.